Welcome to the Pioneer Mind podcast and the Mark Workman Show. Just always glad to be back. We're having our regular Thursday show with Kathy. And we're going to get into that in here in just a minute. If you can, like and subscribe. I'm going to keep saying that because we need to grow the show and the message to, we're being others minded with this in the sense of I'm really focusing on the oil and gas industry with a lot of my guys and trying to promote my industry as well and all the things that we do to really kind of save the planet, whether people realize it or not. So that's really one of my goals. And then here on this show with Kathy, we're just focusing on our health goals, metabolic health, insulin resistance. Again, we're going to be a little repetitive with some of the problems we talk about, but there's so many things related to this. It's just astounding how many things are related back to this subject Kathy's got onto and really is creating an authority around, a trust around with people. So it just takes a lot of effort, And in talking about this show, the Mark Workman Show and the Pioneer Mind podcast, really one of my goals is to help people get unstuck and start thinking outside the box, be creative and not stop in life. We were told as Americans, work 30 some years and I'm going to retire and go off and do nothing, hoard up my money and go golf for the rest of my life. Well, about 2 months in, I just talked to so many guys like, what have I done? And really in this show, I want to encourage people to be creative. I want to encourage my partners and business people, all those that have great ideas and innovations to keep going and not quit. Really, the idea of winning in life is not quitting. And I always tag the line after I say that not quitting is winning. And I always say, because everybody quits. It's really kind of a sad statement on kind of where our culture is in the sense of, we go to college, get a job with the idea of we're working to quit at the end of the day, when really we're just getting started. So I just want to encourage you with that. There's a quote by C.S. Lewis that I like, and it kind of sums up some of what I think's happening and what I want to encourage people about. When the whole world is running toward a cliff, he who is running in the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind. Isn't that fascinating? This idea that, if you're going against the herd, absolutely you're going to be questioned and pushed back on. So it's really the idea behind this show, the Mark Workman Show. It's really driven me and I think Kathy could even testify to this if you asked her privately or whatever, is literally how I make decisions. Is if when I see the herd going that direction, I start looking over my shoulder for maybe what the real thing is, because I realize the herd has been tricked a lot actually in this culture. So I am not that way, and I'm not trying to say anything in terms of a boasting thing at all, but it's just been my nature to kind of go against the grain, and in many, many ways has served me well. So that quote by C.S. Lewis means a lot to me because it makes me realize I'm not insane and losing my mind, which can sometimes feel that way when you're going against what everyone else thinks. So, well, anyway, today this is our health show. This is our regular show we're going to do, and we're still trying to figure out a name. If you have a name suggestion, I ask you to just send it. You might have funny things. Kathy's very witty. She's come up with some that I said, no, that's not going to be on the show moniker. But she definitely has good ideas and stuff. But we're looking for a name for the show. We want to do this every Thursday. We want to encourage people with the challenges they have in their own health, their own body, their own mind. There's a wholeness aspect to this life. And, I just did a podcast on reading and developing your mind. There's all three parts of our life need to be growing and maturing. And if you're off in one of them, if you're off in your spiritual, your body and mind will suffer. If you're off in your body, your mind and spiritual will definitely suffer. Your body's a huge thing. It's really the thing that's carrying the story of our life, our bodies are. And for whatever reason, we have been trained to kind of ignore that, the frame we're in, this body that carries our spirit, our soul, our mind, and we can ignore that at our own peril. So really this show is about trying to get us back to wholeness and really attacking this idea of insulin resistance, how we use energy, metabolic health, which is, again, you're going to hear over and over again, but really when you listen to people, almost everything they're talking about is related to this subject. Isn't that right, Kathy?
Yep. It's time to blow some things up. I've always been a little, well, I shouldn't say always, but yes, I'm definitely patriotic. When we start feeling things are being attacked, we kind of rise up. And I think being in the weight loss industry for a decade and watching people, struggle and knowing little changes bring about uh, great results. Um, it's time to blow some things up. And so it's kind of exciting to think about. Also in that, I wanted to start with the scripture in Proverbs. It says, Proverbs 17:22, a merry heart does good like a medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. And that's kind of where we're at with our health. I think we're all blowing some things up, recognizing, oh my gosh, not only has our country been attacked and undermined and so many things going on underneath the surface to steal, kill, and destroy. And then also recognizing that in us, when we have Christ in us, we too are under attack and our physical bodies are being under attack. So we'll talk about some things today that need to be blown up and how change can be difficult for us, but recognizing that the truth really, truly sets us free.
Yeah, it's astounding. Last week we were blowing up. If you're using that reference for July 4th, I'm assuming you're
Thomas,
doing.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
blow
so
some things up.
and here in Great Falls, it turns into World War III. As if you live here in Great Falls, the people here celebrate. Am I right?
Yeah.
They get after it, and it's absolutely astounding the amount of effort that goes into blowing things up in this city.
Yeah.
But last week we were blowing things up. We're blowing up some lies. What were some of the lies from last week we blew up?
Some of the lies were, 6 small meals a day, work hard, wiggle, move more, eat less. Just some real blanket statements that we've been told. One of the big one was the swap from the, natural butter and beef and eggs to, oh, let's eat seed oils. That's a good idea. And recognizing a lot of that stuff has just come from legislation. And the legislation is a lot of that is run by the food industries and big pharma. So that keeps that wheel spinning. And I think you're going to show the wheel here in a minute, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to know a lie until it's almost hindsight a little bit. I hate to say it. When you're in it, it's very difficult to see a lie.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Like
you're too close.
You're too close. I read a book about, I want to say Albania or something. The communists would make these people stand, like 1 inch from the wall, and they couldn't look right or left, and they didn't know what was going on, even in the room they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's somehow, some way, how a lie is. You're so close to maybe the source of it, and maybe in a trust factor too. Who's ever the source, maybe you trust them.
Yeah.
But it's really hindsight. It's sometimes years later when you realize, that wasn't actually true.
I think they said it's easier to convince people of a lie than it is to convince people that they've believed a lie.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where we're at with things is we're all like, oh my gosh, nobody wants to feel like you were duped and fell for something. But if you don't step back and look at the proof, look at 93% of the population is metabolically unhealthy. That's a problem.
Yeah.
We've got to go back to the fuel source.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And and again, I think about some of the lies when I was young. I used to love Wheaties, and this is going to be telling on myself in a bad way, but Bruce Jenner, 1976 is on the box. I thought I wanted to be not a pentathlete or whatever, pentathlon, but I wanted to be a great athlete, so I was going to eat Wheaties. I really was. I was convinced if I ate Wheaties, I'd somehow have a extra punch and power in terms of a thing. So I would eat a box of Wheaties at one sitting 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. I'm not exaggerating. I'd pour it into a tea bowl, and then I would punch it down and smash it small.
Yeah.
And pour like a half a gallon of milk over it, and I would eat that at a sitting.
So that's a prime example of the brainwashing that's been happening. And when cereals and grains came out, it was actually Mr. Kellogg that said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, at that time, they were trying to figure out what to do with all the grains. So, if we could make the grains this cereal, most important meal of the day, start your day that way. They also knew that your blood sugar is going to spike, and in 2 hours, you're going to be super hungry again. Therefore, now we'll make some more snacks for you, and we'll take the fat out of those snacks. We're going to program you to believe that fat is bad. So, now we want all the no snack the no fat snacks. So in 2 hours, we eat another snack that has zero nutritional value to us. And again, now we're ready for lunch. Now we're going to eat a couple pieces of bread and maybe some lunch meat on it, maybe bologna,
Right.
literally the bologna, and then some chips because those are really that was kind of programmed as our lunch. And the whole time you're thinking, well, I don't eat sugar.
Right. No, and the other day you were sharing the idea that I don't know what you said. This decade, I did the fat-free thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The '90s had us scared to death of the fat. So, I'm eating licorice and drinking Dr. Pepper, but I didn't have any fat, no
Right.
fat in it.
Right.
But, you're just frustrated with, like I think I showed last week, the picture of me in my 30s and 40s. I was literally working hard, exercising, doing all the things I thought were right. But until you understand what how our body converts everything to sugar. We don't ever need any glucose or sugar. Your body makes it for us.
You're right. Yeah, you've shared some of those photos on Facebook, which make me cringe when you've showed some of those ones that of yourself.
Yeah, me too.
And actually, we've kinda I wouldn't say, us being married, I've I've bristled when you've posted photos of me, and I don't
Oh
really
yeah.
like it.
Right.
And it's not that you posted the photo, it's that I'm ashamed of where I got.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was a real shame when I look back, I go, "How in the heck did I come out as this athlete in Ohio, Pennsylvania, very well known, excellent athlete in anything I touched, that kind of thing, and then I'm 295." I hate to say that
Yeah.
word, but it was unbelievable.
But I think that's where a lot of people are at. And that's the other layer of the brainwashing is now we have shame. Now it's my fault.
Yeah,
And, not recognizing we've been set up. And I'm not trying to take away any responsibility, but we've been marketed to, and you're like, well, who would lie about that? It says heart healthy right there on it. And so until we can blow up some lies and start thinking for ourselves and going, okay, following this pattern. And again, my dad was super all about be ahead of the game, prevention, prevention, prevention. And I watched him make his super cereal with all the grains, and he was active. He could maintain his weight. So he really never knew internally he was on fire.
right.
And that's where we look back to, our youth. And when I talk about our youth, I mean, our 20s, 30s, and 40s and the way we were eating. Um, we were on fire too, and definitely insulin resistant. So I guess my goal in blowing things up is to blow it up and then show it in a simple way because I really don't want it to be discouraging. I want it to be encouraging. Um, I'm reading this book by Dr. Snowda, and he does a fabulous job. You can get this on Amazon.
What's the title?
It's called The Great Health Deception: How Corporate Lies Created a Chronic Disease Epidemic and the Simple Truth That Can End It. And that's what I guess I want to get excited about, the simple truth. And I know sometimes you get mad because you're getting ready to blow something up
Right.
and it's the mad is because we believed it. We believe that lie. And when you hear the truth, it makes sense. It resonates. And I've had people tell me, "Oh, I couldn't sell anything." And I'm like, "I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to share truth. If it resonates with you, great. If you have something that's working for you, great. Keep doing it. I just want to share something that I have found that's been super helpful. And the proof is in the pudding because people's pudding is melting."
Well, an encouragement to you is that a lot of times when someone says this is not for them or they push back a little bit, a lot of times it's a seed planted. I always talk about when I have, with my own boys, ranted about a subject. I can't even think of an example, but over the years I would rant to Dylan and Jacob about this, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. This is the right way. I learned from experience, and they're ignoring everything I'm saying. They literally can't hear it, right? And then they're 28 years old and some stranger comes along, says the exact same thing. and they go, "Dad, I just learned this thing." And I'm like, "You wanna pull your hair out, right?" But that what you're doing is planting
Yeah.
seeds, right?
Yeah.
So you're planting seeds even when people reject it, later on, they're gonna hear it again
Yeah.
some way,
Well,
and
that's how I learned. I
right,
mean, somebody said something and I'm like, "Well, that ain't right." We're supposed to have healthy carbs. We're supposed to have grains. Those are all part of that food pyramid. So you do push back. And again, it's that we don't want to be wrong and we don't want to think we believed a lie.
right. Well, and I always think about, like, for a lot of years, I was doing the healthy choice dinners. Remember, I'd buy those
Uh-huh.
packs
Yeah.
of the healthy choice, and it was limiting calories,
Yep.
but if you read the label, it was 46 grams of sugar, essentially, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and very little protein, very little fiber, and you're just like, you were really at that point buying meals and counting calories without counting calories. You were setting a
Yep.
a structure in place so you didn't have to count calories, because I didn't like that, you know?
Yeah, and just like you said, when we flipped the thing over and learned how to read the labels properly, because we're being programmed, hey, it's only this many calories. So we're thinking in calories when we're not thinking in nutritional macronutrients. And that's the macronutrients that your body needs. And if you're not getting them, then you're on the spinny wheel of cravings and crashing, have no energy because that insulin, your cells are resistant because they're so stinking full. And now your pancreas is going to start compensating like, okay, if they're going to keep
So
eating
your
this much sugar,
pancreas is blowing up.
your pancreas is blowing up. Absolutely. And again, it's a little organ that I didn't even know what it was.
Right,
And now all of a sudden you hear it all the time. Pancreatic cancer, pancreatic. It's huge right now. And it makes perfect sense when you realize it's your pancreas that makes insulin. Now, all of us have a set point of insulin. Insulin's job is to clean. Well, when you over dirty, now we need more cleaning ladies. So the pancreas works harder, makes more insulin. Now your insulin set point is even higher. And so it's harder and harder to bring that down. And it's really difficult to do if you don't have some tools that help you break free from
right,
the bondage of what's going on internally. We're fighting biological things, feeling like we're having to do it with willpower, and willpower doesn't work. Willpower keeps you more stuck because then you beat yourself up because you're weak.
right. Let's pull up the problem and, um, right there, and just pick one of those, that we need to blow up today. Like, from the wheel.
Sure.
Do you have the wheel in front of you, or can you
I don't have it, but I have it in my
okay.
I have it in my head.
Yeah, they're
I
seeing it.
sleep with the wheel.
Everyone who's watching sees it,
The
so
wheel to me was probably what blew up a lot of things for me and actually got me into this business outside of office walls. Like, I need to help the world. I'm not just dealing with one symptom of obesity. So let's go around the wheel and pull up the PCOS. That's what's huge, is addressing us, our younger generation. They're dealing with the PCOS, which is the polycystic ovarian cysts.
oh, okay.
And those are created when insulin is high, the ovaries start absorbing, and I could be wrong on this, so check my science, but I had a pretty good understanding of it at one point. Then the ovaries start producing more and more testosterone to kind of protect, like, this is not a good environment to have eggs. So now we've got this high testosterone. The eggs aren't able to get fertilized, and the women are getting cysts, and they're not able to get pregnant.
So this is more common now than maybe in the past, or is this
Oh, absolutely,
oh,
because the insulin is so high. So when insulin is high, your body, this is the part, the more you learn, it's like our bodies are so fearfully and wonderfully made.
right,
We throw that quote out a lot, but really, if we understood how hard our bodies and how beautiful they are working to keep us balanced. Like, I was just reading the other day, like, when we go into the doctor and we get our blood work done, that's just kind of basically checking to see if you have massive organ failure and all of that coming. It's not checking like, but how come I feel like crap?
right.
Oh, your blood work looks great. Well, it's not checking a lot of those things. So we stay stuck. And then again, we think we're the problem and not realizing, then we go, okay, well, let's drive through Wendy's. That was a depressing doctor's visit. He says my numbers are fine. And then we just keep, fueling poorly because we don't know.
Yeah, that word "stuck" is a big word for me and has been for probably 30 years. I just absolutely, um, cringe at the idea for me being personally stuck, you
Yeah.
know? And it was one of my motivators back when I was 50. This is probably 10, 11 years ago. Then, I'd come through the 2008 crash. I'd put on all this weight, and in my 40s, the 40s were just a terrible decade. And the truth of it is I did have this recognition that I was stuck. I remember we went on a river trip, and I remember I couldn't go down the bank to get the kayaks. I could, but I did the old man crawl, and I'm like 49 years old, and I'm realizing, man, I gotta turn this around.
But you were carrying a third grader,
I was, and
literally on you body.
I was stuck, and that was a motivator. I still have that deep memory of going down that bank,
Mhm.
that river bank, realizing, okay, I've let myself
Yeah.
absolutely not walked in character, not walked in my own things that I would claim over myself weren't being expressed in my
Yeah.
life.
Well, and that's a prime example of how our inner me becomes our greatest enemy. And I think that's how these
Interesting.
lies work is we become our own worst enemy, and now we don't have to be brainwashed anymore because we think we are the problem.
Right,
So we start this internal self-destructive mode, and in that it just keeps the cycle spinning.
right.
And again, I like in his book, he says the corporate lies that created chronic disease, the epidemic that we're all in when 93% of the population is metabolically unhealthy, and the simple truth that can end it. The simple truth is if we can deal with our number one hormone in the body, which is insulin, which again, that word to me was like, oh, that's for diabetics. I don't need to know about that. But when our insulin is off, everything is off. So all your other hormones, they have us chasing our estrogen, our
Whatever.
testosterone, or all of those. And what we're finding is when that insulin gets when the cells can absorb the energy, we're not having energy crashes. I hear a lot of people, oh, my joints hurt. I just have no energy. I'm lethargic, brain fog. All of those things are tied to the one simple solution. So, as much as we have to blow some things up and expose the problem, we also have to, I really want to be a part of hope
Right.
because that's what this is all about to me is hope.
Yeah. I can remember, you talk about hope. I remember getting on the scale one morning and I was appalled. And it was bad. I was 49 or something. It was that same period of time that turned my life around really was uh I want to say 49 or so, 50 maybe. And I remember getting on a scale and being like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." I just couldn't believe it. But I remember when I got to 260, you know what I mean? And I'm like, "Hey, I think we can turn this,"
Yeah, the hope. Hope came.
the hope came because there was some successes even with what I was doing at the time, which wasn't the most ideal thing for me using that word, but the subtle changes I made big differences. It doesn't take massive change. These little subtle changes can move you a long way.
Yeah. And that's what excites me about, little steps. And again, I was part of had a franchise with a big corporate, Jenny Craig, paid for the franchise, did all the legal stuff, walked into my office one day and you're locked out. So even these corporate lies, they can do whatever they want to, but God directs those steps. So in that process, we were shrink our food, shrink us.
Right.
And that was step one.
Yeah,
That was fabulous. I will never I am so grateful for that
I
season.
am too. I
And had
said the
I
same
not got
thing.
into this, working at Curves and Jenny Craig and learning all of that, and I was telling people, hey, move more, eat less. That's the answer. And then when you move to the next level and like, oh, let's talk about macros. What's a macro? Well, those are how many fats, how many carbohydrates, and how many proteins. And recognizing that carbohydrates are not a necessary nutrient because our body can make those for us. And then to realize the whole food pyramid is based on a macronutrient, carbohydrates, that we don't need. Then you start realizing, okay, we got to fine tune this thing. And learning about the macro codes was another huge next step for myself. And then that's what set me into, okay, this metabolic health. What is metabolic health? Metabolic health is, how does your body process energy? And right now, what we're realizing is most of our bodies are hooked up to garden hoses. We're
Yeah.
not getting fuel.
Right.
Therefore, you're hungry all the time. Your engine runs horribly. You feel like crap. And again, the blood test that the doctors have you say, hey, good news, blood work looks great. I actually had a gal come up to me I was at a health fair or something, and she's telling me, and she was obviously, overweight and dealing with insulin resistance. But she said to me, she goes, well, my doctor said I'm a healthy fat.
Mm.
And I said, but are you a happy fat? And she just started tearing up.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me was that idea, understanding the shame and the layers that we have had put upon us that keep us stuck, which is what lies do.
Yeah,
One little lie,
shame's a big
it's
word. If you
huge.
if you study that out, we studied that out years ago with uh, one of our mentors, teachers. I guess he talked about it for probably 4 years in a series we followed about shame and the power of it and how it can really force you and navigate you into areas of isolation. Very few
Hmm.
relationships. You don't trust yourself, let alone other people.
Yeah,
It puts you in a point of disgust with yourself in some ways,
yeah,
right? So you look at shame and the power of it, and again, I can use that word. I was ashamed of
right,
myself,
right.
but it was also a motivator. I have to admit that too, because I look down there and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But
Well, and the scale could be our jail for sure. And
sure,
we don't
sure,
want, I mean, it's one gauge, but the truth is, and I think this is why people came to me for the weight loss, is they don't trust themselves on anything because they've all tried it on their own. We all tried different things I tried things, you tried things. And you might get just a little result, but then you're right back to square one. And you realize, again, that's when we realize we've been set up for failure.
right.
And it's like, okay, now I need to look behind the scenes. Why do I keep failing? And is it just my character? So people come to me, tell me exactly what to do. Tell me what to do. And you have that structure. And then that structure would lead to discipline. Discipline would lead to the habit. So that's important. But I would have to say, with this new protocol I'm doing, I'm actually try to be very careful not to set really strict, rigid things, because even with the holidays, let's talk about that. The holidays, people go, well, I just didn't take my stuff with me because they don't want to waste it. So they're using it. If we can't do it perfect, we're not going to do it all. And the beauty of this product that I'm using is that it's the tool that helps you. So if you're going on vacation, you're going to be in food temptations, not just to, oh, well, I'll just start back on Monday. No, no, no. This is the tool that's going to help you. And will you still maybe have some of those things? Absolutely. But it's keeping those blood sugars level so you can make better decisions and the damage is not nearly as dangerous.
We talked about this before we started the recording today, but for me, and I think, and I've shared this with you before, so it's nothing new, but like I get in my head over the last 10 years that I know something is to say it's a Friday and I know something's
Mm,
coming on Tuesday that, okay, they're going to birthday cakes or some sort of celebration or Easter meals or whatever,
right.
the ridiculous nature of our meals these days, right? And so I would plan. I would pre-decide. I know that I don't want to get into a situation and make a decision while I'm in it.
Right.
I would make my decisions before I got into those things. And that really helped me to make a plan and make a decision. Okay, I'm going to make sure I have some salad, some protein. I'm not going to have a dessert and, whatever.
Yeah.
I really kind of thought about how I was going to line out my plate. And, again, that sounds a little crazy, but I think if you get in a situation and you're making the decisions while you're in a circumstance,
Yeah.
I don't think you make good decisions very often.
Well, a prime example of that is particularly in Montana, but probably all kinds of places. If I'm going to take a road trip, what's the weather going to be? What do I need to take? Do I need to take snow boots? Do I need
Sure.
to take mittens? Do I need to take sunscreen? Do I need to take an umbrella? And we think about that all the time. In the morning, we get up. we clothe ourselves. And if in the morning we got up and we thought, okay, how am I going to fuel myself today? Because you're never going to take a trip if you thought, okay, that's going to be 300 miles between gas stations. I better have a plan. And that's the same with our bodies. We need to have a plan and we need to know how we're going to fuel it. And so, just taking that power back and knowing that we have a lot more power. And, I hear people say a lot of times, oh, I fell off the wagon. Well, I would rather you jump off the wagon intentionally and know that, hey, I'm going to, like you just said, I'm going to have my protein, I'm going to have some fiber, I'm going to have some healthy fats. And if I want a dessert, I'm going to have a dessert.
Right.
And I'm going to enjoy the dessert because we want to take that piece of shame out of it. We want to get the empowerment back.
Yeah, another thing I noticed over the years is in those situations with family events or wherever we were, there was always this one person who was a food pusher. You'd have your first plate. There's more. Come back for more.
So good.
Oh, yeah. Fill that plate again. Push. Oh, you want a piece of cake? No, I don't want a piece of cake. You sure? It's so good. And they keep going and going and going. And that's where I think pre-deciding
Yeah.
your plan is super helpful. And it really helped me. And and again, it might not be for everybody. For me, it really worked well.
Yeah. One of the things is we're talking is you look at even again, another bigger lie, maybe, or opportunist, I guess I would say. If you look at our calendar, I didn't realize how many holidays we have. Now, if it's not your birthday, it's somebody's birthday. And then we've got, you're going to have Halloween and we have Easter and we have Christmas. And you're going to have even 4th of July and we're going to have Labor Day and we're going to have Memorial Day. And all of those are centered around food. Food has hijacked our families in so many different ways. Food used to be the added bonus to a family gathering. Now it is a family gathering. If you ask people, what are you doing for the 4th? Oh, we're having hot dogs. Oh, we're having, and ask for Christmas. What are you doing for Christmas? Oh, prime rib. What are you doing for, and so all of these food things start becoming a lot more evident. And then once you know the game, then you have a choice to whether you want to play it. But the truth is, a game is being played on us. And we are the pawns of the game. So if you want to take your power back, then we need to recognize, okay, what's the game and how do we be strategic?
Right. So, well, let's go to the solution. And again, you have some product there too, but if you want to show it, but
Sure.
we'll just talk about the solution real quick, and then I'll go back to you and we'll have you show kind of the protocol and the stuff.
Mhm.
But again, it's a good reminder to show how simple this is, in my opinion.
Yeah. This morning I was listening to a podcast and an ad came up for this simple hack you do before bed to, reverse this or that. And we all go, yeah, right. Like I'm going to drink baking soda and vinegar, whatever it is. I don't know what it was, but I'm just saying I understand the frustration and the delusion. And I think all of those different things are a part of the chaos that we can't make a decision.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is the only tool, but I'm telling you, this is a really valuable tool that we have found personally. I'm going on a year of using this protocol, and people say, well, why are you still on it if you don't want to lose weight? Because I feel great. It's called the Feel Great system.
I'm going to put up the solution slide and talk about it.
Good energy. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the solution is this simple protocol that was designed in the 80s by Rexall Drug. They started seeing the rise in the blood sugar because of how the food had shifted. And we're seeing diabetes was getting to be a big problem. Heart disease, all of those things were becoming an issue. And they're like, okay, what changed? Well, when they took the salt from our how to preserve food and added preservatives back in it and lowered the salt, then our sugar receptors got real high. Then they took the fat out, and when you take the fat out, that's the flavor. So now we have to add more sugar back in. And so the solution was these simple packets. If we're taking the fiber out, our blood sugar spikes. And fiber is what feeds the gut biome. And so if we're not getting the fiber that our gut needs, then we're breaking that gut-brain connection as well. So we've seen anxiety, depression, all of those things skyrocket because our gut isn't getting fueled. So this simple little packet that I take 1 to 2 times a day is what we call the balance. And that keeps on that screen of the solution. You'll see a typical, when your blood sugar spikes up, your insulin stays high. And when your insulin is high, your cells are tight, they're resistant. That's called insulin resistance. And insulin has to figure out what to do with this energy. So a lot of times it's going to stick it in your liver. We got lots of fatty liver. It's going to stick it in your joints. It's going to put it wherever it can to keep you from killing yourself. Um, and it does this for decades before it ever shows up on a simple blood test. So you can go to your doctor and your doctor goes, "Oh, you're good. Blood test looks great. Let's keep an eye on that." And never tells you that it's because your insulin is jacked up. And a lot of physicians aren't trained in that, so they don't know. That's where taking your own health into your own hands and go, okay, my doctor says my blood work looks great, but I feel like crap. Why is that? And it's because a lot of the numbers that they're doing aren't checking for even the salt when they legislated low sodium. That's a surviving rate, not a thriving rate. And so much so that any time you go to the hospital, the first thing they're going to do is stick you on a saline bag, which is salt. And they're going to fluff you back up. You're going to feel better. And they're going to send you out the door and say, now go on that low salt diet. Make sure you're not, messing with your heart. So
Yeah, a
those are
lot of
just
those things came out of fads, though. And I know one thing I saw, um, uh, literally Good Morning America in 1972 had a show. I can't even remember what the subject was. And it took over the culture. And later in the late 80s, I remember
right.
it came out that, oh no, that was absolutely terrible. It came from a fad show. I mean, we get onto things
Right.
in
But
the
it was
wrong
a
way.
fad show intentionally. You got to realize
Yeah.
they're intentionally whoever has the mic has the power, and whoever has the money and the mic has the power. And so if they throw these lies out there, even if they're shown later, like we know fat, you have to have fat. Your brain is fat. Your body needs fat to process fat. So fat doesn't make you fat. When they took the fat out of the diets, we all got fatter. So, but they start that, and it's just like a rumor. You start it, and it
The
just
power of
keeps
the
going.
herd, I talked about my
It's
slide
the power
earlier.
of the word.
Yeah, well, the herd is powerful.
Yep.
Everyone else is doing it, so it must be
Yeah.
right. It's an absolute lie. Literally, when you see the herd doing something, most likely it's not right, and you need to look over your shoulder and figure out the other direction that's
Yeah.
correct. That's
Yeah.
a C.S. Lewis quote on steroids.
Yeah. And we've been taught to not question, people are nice, stand in line, follow the rules, all of these things that we've been programmed for. And it makes it really hard to go against the herd when you're like, well, could that many people really be wrong? And, so it takes doing your own research. And like I said, for me, when I saw the wheel, I saw the solution. Uh, it resonated with me in a way that I'm like, I got to at least try that.
We
And
never really got to the solution. You just
okay,
mentioned them. So
sorry.
get to the Unimate tea
Yep.
and the fiber. Kind of do
Yep.
those real quickly, and
Oh,
then
gotcha.
I want to take a break for an ad. So.
Gotcha. So 2 teas. The Unimate is a yerba mate tea grown in Argentina. They drink it all the time because it makes them feel good. It takes away the inflammation. It lowers their cravings. And so the Unimate twice a day. First started in the morning, and it's a great energy. You feel good. It helps me do intermittent fasting. When I'm not eating, the pancreas is resting, the insulin can come down. And when I say, let's do some fasting and not eating, if that makes you cringe, then you're protecting the very thing that's making you miserable. And this tool is going to help to uncover that. And all of a sudden you're going to be going, oh, well, I just really maybe don't need breakfast today.
Maybe talk about some of the flavors. Just mention a few of the flavors.
Yeah, we got a lemon ginger, a raspberry pomegranate, a fierce, that's a really strong ginger, which is awesome. And then a couple of the low caffeine with the lemon and a mint chocolate brownie. So,
okay. So
really a pleasant, simple solution, honestly.
That's what I love about it.
And the other thing that's really great, and you're not going to find one pharmaceutical that after 90 days and you go, oh my gosh, this didn't make me feel better. If you don't have some measurable results, we are so confident in this, you will get your money back. And I think that, to me personally, when I'm sharing it with friends and family, it's not about me. It's not about disappointing me. Just try it. It's too simple not to. What do you got to lose?
Well, that's a perfect segue into our sponsor today, which brings up a 90-day challenge.
Whoop, whoop.
Taking a quick break. If you're ready to take control of your health, it's time to check out the Unicity 90-Day Health Challenge. The Unicity protocol pairs 2 powerful science-backed products, Balance Fiber Blend to help stabilize blood sugar and curb cravings, and Unimate to boost energy, focus, and metabolism. It's simple. Balance before meals, Unimate to start your day. In 90 days, you can feel better, think clearer, and live stronger. Thousands have already transformed their lives naturally. Hit the link and start your Unicity Challenge today. Welcome back to the show, and we're going to just kind of finish up here and get moved along. We have one testimony that Kathy wants us to talk about real quick. It's just, and this is a friend of hers, and she just recently traveled with her, so they've become, I'm assuming, quite close.
Mhm.
As they get, developing a relationship there. But you have some information here to share, and I'm gonna put it up on screen, but you can talk about it.
It's kinda interesting. Wendy and I met in Vegas, and we say, "What happens in Vegas can't stay in Vegas." But both of us came as little skeptics a little bit. We had a little experience with the protocol. We were thinking, "Okay, this is too good to be true," and it was kind of our trip that was maybe gonna, blow some things away. But Wendy is a nurse practitioner, and she's seen firsthand people are not getting better. They're getting sicker and sicker. And that was a very frustration for her. She herself had Hashimoto's. On the testimony, you can see where she was dealing with, she had 29 extra pounds that she's lost. She had chronic pain and inflammation, joint pain, that's gone. She had gut issues and acid reflux. That's all improved dramatically. It's been resolved. Energy, her hormones in menopause was kind of all over the place. And that's the big buzz that you hear a lot now is perimenopause and menopausal. Well, when the biggest hormone is out of line, all the other ones are in too. And so what we find is when you get insulin, I call it the spine hormone, you get that in place, the other ones kind of line up. And Wendy found that her energy, the hormones in menopause has all been stabilized. She also dealt with some autoimmune symptoms, and those have dramatically improved and continue to improve. So
Autoimmune is when your body's essentially attacking itself.
it starts attacking itself. Yeah.
Hmm.
And again, that's because, well, let me look at this. This was interesting to me. Our body is so, like I said, fearfully and wonderfully made. When your blood calcium level will stay rock solid normal, even if you are severely depleted. So our body inside is always trying to keep some kind of a homeostasis. And then it goes on to say here that your own your let me see. Your body will aggressively steal nutrients from its own tissues to keep the blood sugars level. So your blood calcium, your bone, I'm sorry, I jumped us. Your your own bones will start dissolving to create the calcium they need to keep your blood level. And I know the same with salt. If you're low on sodium, it's going to take it from your bone density, and then we get osteoporosis.
So your body is trying to keep your blood work uh, into a healthy status so you can live because it knows you need to have healthy
Yeah,
blood, right?
yeah,
So it pulls it from anywhere it can,
right.
is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's just like the pancreas starts making more and more insulin for you to help you out, but now then your insulin is high all the
Well,
time.
think about this. Say what you just described, and it makes sense that the body would do this to have healthy blood, right? It's going to pull what it needs from wherever it needs it
Mhm.
within the body. But think about this is when you do go to a doctor and you get bad test results on your blood,
Yeah,
meaning you've taken all your resources in other parts of your body,
right, now you're in
you're in trouble.
critical mass. Yeah,
Yeah,
the blood tests really don't find out anything until you are in a critical place.
interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But again, it's pretty powerful to see how the body can heal itself, even, just for you and I, the damage the insulin resistance did for us over the years, how that's been reversed for us. And that's the hope that I guess I want to leave people is you're not stuck with where you're at. We had one gal that said, we shared some product with her. She had, diarrhea for 3 months. She was miserable in a lot of pain. And she goes, well, that product's probably for healthy people. I'm probably too far gone. And we're like, just take the product.
Yeah.
And so anyway, to make her sister-in-law happy, she started taking the balance. And in a couple days, she's like, well, I'm not in as much pain. Well, it was after just, I think, a couple weeks, and all of a sudden she was actually having actual bowel movements. The pain was gone. She was, for her 3 months later, she was able to go to her daughter's wedding, 20 pounds
Oh,
down. She
wow.
sent me a picture of her dancing, and
Wow.
that to me is what excites me about this is the testimonies that I get. I'll get text, "Hey, I'm wearing my size 10 pants and I'm able to, do this or that," or, "Hey, I'm down 30 pounds. I'm back at the gym. I'm feeling great. I'm doing things I never did before. What am I supposed to do with all this energy?"
Yeah.
It's funny, I had a gal, she goes, It's interrupting my sleep." And I go, "Really?" I said, "Most people feel like they sleep better." And she goes, "Well, I used to sleep all day and now I don't."
Oh. Well, testimonies are important, and we need to make sure each and every time we do one of these shows that we emphasize that and bring people to the table for that. Because really, we are the witness to our own lives. Is that not true?
Yep.
And again, as a witness to my own life, I can testify and testify accurately to how I was feeling, what I saw, what happened, way better than anyone else that walks. No one's walking in my shoes like I am. So
Mhm.
when you come with a testimony, just like last week's testimony, what was that fellow's name?
John,
John,
John.
the drugs he was on, not able to move, and on and on and on. Now he's walking around. He's actually working out, right?
Yeah.
And you just see that kind of stuff. And I think testimonies might be the evidence, or I wouldn't say more important
Mhm.
than anything else, but maybe it is the highest
Well, it is.
priority.
I mean, scripture says we overcome by the blood of the lamb and the word of our testimony. And even in this state that we're in for the 4th of July, what was it? It was the Declaration of Independence. And there's life and death are in the power of the tongue. The things we speak are powerful. The things, because we don't, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We speak what we believe. So if you're, um, we need to think about what we're thinking about and the things that are coming out of our mouth. One day I was kind of just talking to the Lord. And I'm like, okay, how do I know if somebody's toxic? And I just heard this, they talk sick. And so often we're talking sick because we've been programmed to repeat lies over and over and over. And
Yeah.
so
No,
recognizing
100%, and um again, a lot of subjects here, folks, for as we go through these things, and again, it seems rapid fire, maybe even a fire hose to some of you. But yeah, as we continue to do this, I think this is kind of an endless subject. And what we've learned over the last 10 years, at least Kathy and I together, and I'm not near as involved as she is, but I've taken it on myself to be my own best advocate. I want to emphasize that every time we talk is that, if you're farming out your health or your health decisions to a third party who says this is what you need to do, I actually am kind of against that. I think you need to research, how you feel, and I'm not saying just try things, but you need to really become a student of your own body, in my opinion.
everybody already is trying things.
Yeah,
I mean, we're secretly trying things. And so, anyway, love to share what I'm doing. And again, 90-day challenge. If you don't feel like it's done anything for you, you're not out anything.
right.
And no harm to me. I'm just excited to share what's working for me and my friends and people that are willing to give it a risk.
Okay. Well, as we close out the show today, hey, thanks for joining us.
Oh,
Subscribe and like, keep doing that. And it just helps us. And again, we're going to do these every Thursday. We're hoping they're an encouragement. I love doing them. I love talking about it. It's so easy to do. And again, I am going to be doing another taping in the morning with an oil field company, believe it or not, on July 4th. We're going to do a podcast in the morning, and that'll be out on Monday or Tuesday. Got one next week with another company, oil company, as I promote my people, and we're going to be talking about oil and gas investing, and you'd be able to contact this person if you want, and if you're interested in that. But it's something Kathy and I do, and I found it very beneficial in our investments and what the way we do things. And but those are the upcoming shows, and again, we have one next Thursday. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your fourth. Celebrate.
whoop, whoop. Blow
Um,
some things up.
yeah, blow some things up, and we're just so glad you're here, and we're gonna enjoy our fourth, and you guys do as well. Thanks for coming.